Oops, wrong page. There we go. All right, good morning. Today we are doing CO5. I can use equivalent fractions to simplify a fraction and solve a proportion. So in order to do that, I need to know what it means to be equivalent. Equivalency is having the same value. Things that have that same value. To find an equivalent fraction, you're going to multiply or divide both the numerator and denominator by the same number. In effect, you are multiplying or dividing by 1. So even though the numbers in the fraction will change, its value does not. So if we're multiplying the top and the bottom both by 4, that's 4 over 4 that we're multiplying by. 4 over 4 is 1. So we're not going to multiply it by 1 because then you get the exact same number. We want a different number, but we want it to be the same value. So instead of multiplying by 1, we can multiply by 2 over 2, by 3 over 3, by 4 over 4. Okay, so it keeps the same value, but it's a different number. Using a calculator, we're going to compare the decimal values of the original and the equivalent fraction. They should be the same. I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. That is our checkpoint to make sure that your fraction works. Then we're going to write 2 equivalent fractions for each given fraction. Check your answer by comparing the decimal values of all 3 fractions. So let's look at what all of that means. We're going to look at 3/7. Well, I'm going to write 3/7 again here and here because I need to do 2 equivalent fractions. So it's going to be my reminder that I need to do 2 equivalent fractions. What should I multiply my first fraction by? Christina? 2. Do I have to multiply it by 2? No, that's just what we're choosing. So 3 times 2 equals 6. 7 times 2 equals 14. Do I simplify it? Or not? Because then it would just be the same fraction. This is the one time I am not going to tell you to simplify. When we work with equivalent fractions, we don't simplify because then it's going to be the exact same fraction. So let's try it. The second one. What should I multiply by? What do you think, Robbie?
100.
100. So 3 times 100 is 300. 7 times 100 is 700. So I have 3/7, 6/14, and 300 over 700. So now we need to think, how do I know that these are actually equivalent? So that's where our calculator comes in as our checkpoint. When we have a fraction, this fraction bar stands for dividing. So you take the top number, 3, divided by 7, and what do we get? If you put into your calculator 3 divided by 7, we round to our hundredths place. So what would we get if we round to the hundredths place? Michael?
4.43.
So we get 0.43. So now let's do the same thing with 6/14. 6 divided by 14. And notice when we put it in the calculator, instead of doing that division symbol, it has the slash. Kind of like that slash for our fraction bar. That's our reminder that fraction bars mean divide. So if we have 6 divided by 14, what should we get for our decimal, Hadley? 0.43. Now let's do 300 divided by 700. What do we get for our decimal? Hadley? 0.43. All 3 of them are the exact same decimal. They are the same value. So that's our way to check, did I multiply correctly? Sometimes we go too fast when we do multiplying by 2, and I might say 5/7. Because I went fast and I accidentally added instead of multiplied. And then when I check and I do 5 divided by 7, I get 0.71. Oh, that's a different decimal. It's a different value. I messed up. Where did I mess up? Sometimes I get my math facts wrong. It happens. And I do 3 times 2 is 6, 7 times 2 is 21. Well, 6 divided by 21 would be 0.29. Oh, that's a different decimal. I messed up with my multiplying again. So that's why we double check with those decimals for all 3 numbers to make sure that they actually have the same value. Because it is super easy to make a simple mistake with our math, especially when we're feeling confident and we go too fast. Ruby.
So you said for 0.43 we round to the 100. Will it always be rounded to the 100?
Unless you're told otherwise, yes. That 100th place is just a normal place that people will have you round to, unless in the directions we're told something different. So the rest of this part, you're gonna do on your own. Sometimes we're multiplying up. If we look at that 8/10, this first one, instead of multiplying up, what might I do? Divide. I could divide a 2 out. And I could say 4/5. That's an equivalent fraction. You don't always have to multiply up. You can simplify it down, still an equivalent fraction. Making sure that you give me 2 equivalent fractions and you find all 3 decimal values for all 3 fractions, making sure they're the same. Because like I said, super easy to make a simple mistake with our math, especially when we're feeling confident, and a lot of us feel confident about this. We go too fast and mistakes happen. So check to make sure you're not making mistakes. Actually do the math for every single fraction. Put it into your calculator. Write it down. Are my decimals all matching? Now, we're going to stop working on that top so we can learn about proportions. So put your calculators, cover your calculators up. No temptations. Cover them up. We're stopping with that. Let's learn about a proportion. So a proportion is 2 equivalent fractions sorry, 2 equivalent values. My bad. I was thinking about all those fractions we were just working on. 2 equivalent values form a proportion. They are commonly seen as fractions. So a lot of times when we work with proportions, we're working with those fractions. Just know that a proportion is 2 equivalent values. Usually we see it as fractions, those equivalent fractions. You can solve a missing value in a proportion by using those equivalent fractions. Find the scale factor between numbers that are known, then apply the scale factor to the unknown value. Who knows what a scale factor is? And guess what the scale factor is? It's new terms, new vocabulary, but it's something that you already know. Fallon?
Is it like the factor, like the number that the other number is?
You're super close. What do you think, Eleanor?
The denominator?
Not the denominator. Maybe?
So like the number of fraction would be
It's what we're multiplying or dividing by. So if we had 3/5 and we multiplied by 2, and we got that 6/10, right? Because we're technically multiplying 2/2. So 3 times 2 is 6, 5 times 2 is 10. This is my scale factor, multiplying by 2. I multiplied the top and the bottom by 2. That's the scale factor. It increased by 2. Okay. So scale factor, new term, but it's something that we know. We know, oh, multiply and divide the top and the bottom by the same number. That's the scale factor. So compare the decimal values of the two fractions, and they should be the same. Equivalent fractions, proportions are equivalent. So their decimals will be the same, so we'll know that we got the right answer by, again, finding those decimals. So let's look at what that means. Below are proportions. Find the value of n using equivalent fractions. Check your answer by comparing the decimal values of two fractions. For the first four, use equivalent fractions going from left to right. Some of these, we're going to know right away what number, what our scale factor is, what we're multiplying it by. I'm going to show you what you do when you're not sure. So let's look at this first one together. 1 to n as 2 is to 30, or sorry, 2 is to 60. What's my scale factor? What do you think, Amala? Why am I going to multiply it by 30? Come on. 2 times 30 equals 60. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. Right? Same number, that same scale factor. 30. So 2 times 30 was 60. 1 times 30 is what? 30. So n equals 30. How do I find my decimal? If I put 30 in for that n, I know that fraction is 30 over 60. This fraction is 1 over 2. What is the decimal for 1 over 2, Robbie?
0.5.
0.5. What is the decimal for 30 over 60? Hadley? 0.5. Are they equivalent? Did I find the right answer?
Yes.
Yeah, because 0.5 equals 0.5. It is a proportion, they are equivalent. Over here, some of us might know off the top of our head what number it is. Some of us might go 14 to 70. I don't know my multiples of 14. I know up to 12. I'm not sure what it is. There will be times, some of us are able to work it out, but there will be times that we can't work it out. It is crazy numbers that we cannot figure out going from the left to the right. Here's what you do. You go backwards. So if we were multiplying going this direction, what are we going to do if we go backwards? What's the opposite of multiplying, Camilla? Dividing. What is 70 divided by 14? 5. So I know that I divided by 5 going backwards. So going forwards, it's going to be that same scale factor. 14 times 5 equals 70. So now do I know what to multiply the bottom by? Same scale factor. Right? So you multiply it by that 5. So when you come to proportions, those equivalent fractions that you don't know how I go from the left to the right, what I multiply by, go backwards and divide it. And then you can multiply the numerator or denominator by that same scale factor. Down here, we're going to be going from right to left. So we need to decide what 72 divided by what scale factor is gonna give me 12? Or 12 times what number gives me 72? So again, you can put it into your calculator. 72 divided by 12 gives me what answer? What do you think, Robbie?
6.
6. I divided by 6 to get 12. So what do I have to do up here? I need to divide by 6. 24 divided by 6 gives me what answer? 4. So I know n equals 4. I'm going to go back and I'm going to check my decimals. What is 4/12 decimal? So you have a calculator. You can use it. That's not something we knew 1/2 off the top of our head. We don't know 4/12 off the top of our head. What is 4/12 decimal? Eleanor?
0.38.
What is 24/72's decimal? Do it on your calculator. 24 divided by 72. We can't guess. We want to check to make sure we did our math correctly. Christina? Remember rounding to that 100th place, 0.33. Did I do my proportion correctly? Yeah, because they have the same decimal value. Any questions on the dividing part? It's the same as the multiplying up, we just divide backwards. Now on the bottom we have proportions. That same concept. We're doing the exact same thing except they just put words to it. So this blueberry muffin recipe says you need 75 blueberries to make 8 muffins. So I've got my fraction, 75 over 8. I'm going to make sure to write those labels. Okay, whenever we're working with proportions, you write your labels so we make sure we're matching up labels to labels. So 75 blueberries over 8 muffins. How many blueberries, that's my question, how many blueberries for 40 muffins? So notice how the units match horizontally. If I have blueberries on top here, I have to put blueberries on top here. Muffins are on bottom, so the muffins are on the bottom. Match up going across, same labels. What would my scale factor be? 5. To go from 8 to 40, I'm multiplying by 5. So I need to do the same thing on top. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So what is 75 blueberries times 5? Robbie?
375.
375 blueberries. So that is my answer. What should I do to make sure that I did my math correctly? And on the test, we should always double check our math so we don't make simple math mistakes. What do I do, Beckett? Yeah. I'm going to do 75 over 8. Find that decimal. What is 75 divided by 8? Mark. Sorry, David.
9.375.
So we round to that hundredths place, 9.38. What is 375 divided by 40? Beckett. 9.38. Did I do my math correctly? Yes. Okay. Double check your math so we know that we're not making simple mistakes. And I know there are people in here thinking, oh, Miss Beth, I know my math facts. I'm good. I don't need to really check it. Guess who makes the most mistakes?
Yeah.
Those people. Because we get so confident, we go too fast. Have I ever made those mistakes?
Yeah.
You betcha. Because as a teacher, I'm like, oh, I gotta quick make this answer key, I'm gonna go really fast. And then I go back to correct the test and I go, why is everybody getting this one wrong? Are all of you wrong? Or is it maybe me? And I go back and I check and I go, oh, snowflakes. I made a simple math mistake because I went too fast. If I do that, and I've been doing math for many, many, many years, it's really easy for you guys to do it too. So when we're given the opportunity of a way to check our work, always check your work to make sure you're not making those simple mistakes. They happen. All right, so word problems, exact same math that we're doing. There's just words thrown in there, don't let it scare you. All right, we know we're doing proportions, so set up your proportions. Any questions on this second page? Finding that scale value, using our word problems. Okay, if you are at home watching this, I hope you are well. I hope to see you soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.